Manipulation doesn't always sound aggressive. Sometimes, it sounds like concern. Sometimes, it even sounds like a harmless joke. But psychology shows that certain phrases can quietly reveal manipulation, emotional immaturity, or even control. The most dangerous part? They sound completely normal. And that's exactly why so many people miss the warning signs. Today, we're exposing 5 phrases that seem harmless on the surface, but are actually major red flags in relationships. Once you learn to recognize them, you'll start hearing them everywhere. Phrase 1. You're too sensitive. The first phrase sounds harmless. But it can completely shut down a conversation. Let's start with one of the most common ones. You bring up something that hurt you. Maybe it's something they said. Or something they did. And instead of an apology, you hear this. You're just too sensitive. On the surface, it sounds like a simple observation about your personality. But in psychology, this is a classic tactic known as gaslighting. By labeling you as too sensitive, they're not just dismissing your feelings. They're quietly telling you that your feelings are wrong. And once that idea takes hold, the entire conversation changes. Because if you're the problem, they never have to take responsibility for what they did. That's the real red flag. A healthy partner might not always agree with your feelings, but they still respect them. A manipulative person does the opposite. They use your emotions against you, so they never have to face their own behavior. Phrase 2. I'm sorry you feel that way. The second phrase sounds like an apology, but it actually avoids responsibility completely. Imagine confronting someone about something they did. You explain why it hurt you. You expect some form of accountability. Instead, they say, I'm sorry you feel that way. At first, it sounds polite. But listen carefully. They didn't apologize for what they did. They apologized for how you feel. This is what psychologists call a non-apology. It shifts the focus away from their actions, and places it on your emotions. Suddenly, the conversation isn't about their behavior anymore. It's about your reaction. And that subtle shift allows them to escape responsibility. A genuine apology sounds different. It acknowledges the action. And it shows willingness to change. A manipulative apology does neither. Phrase 3. That's just how I am. The third phrase often appears when someone refuses to change. You point out a pattern that keeps hurting you. Maybe it's sarcasm. Maybe it's disrespect. Maybe it's emotional distance. And their response is simple. That's just how I am. It sounds honest. Even self-aware. But in many cases, it's actually a defense mechanism. Because this phrase shuts down the conversation instantly. It suggests that change is impossible. And if change is impossible, then the problem must be you for expecting it. Healthy relationships require growth. Everyone has flaws. But emotional maturity means taking responsibility for them. When someone uses, that's just how I am, to justify harmful behavior, they're choosing comfort over accountability. Phrase 4. You're overthinking it. The fourth phrase is designed to make you doubt your own sanity. You notice something feels off. Maybe their tone suddenly changes, or their behavior doesn't match their words. Your intuition is telling you that something isn't right. So you bring it up. And they respond with, you're overthinking it. At first, it sounds dismissive, but harmless. But here's the darker truth. Manipulators use this phrase as a psychological shield. Instead of addressing the issue, they redefine the problem. You're not being observant. You're being irrational. You're not trusting your intuition. You're being dramatic. Over time, something dangerous happens. You stop trusting your own perception. You start checking with them to see if your feelings are valid, or if your reality is correct. And that shift gives them enormous power. Because the moment you stop trusting your instincts, they gain control over the narrative. Phrase 5. Look what you made me do. The final phrase might be the most dangerous of all. Because this is the moment manipulation turns into blame. Something happens. They cross a boundary. They lie. They hurt you. And when you confront them, they don't apologize. Instead, they say, "Look what you made me do." In that moment, the entire story flips. Their behavior is no longer the problem. You are. Suddenly, you're responsible for their anger, their lies, even their cruelty. Sometimes the phrase sounds softer. "I only did it because I love you." But the mechanism is the same. They're trying to turn toxic behavior into a form of care. And that's the ultimate trap. Because if you start believing that pain is proof of love, you'll begin to tolerate things you never should. Remember this. Love never requires you to suffer to prove it. If someone uses love to justify hurting you, that isn't love. It's control.